Maria Rodriguez was just the gym teacher. Quiet, routine, always early, always prepared. They saw sneakers and whistles, never the dog tags beneath her shirt. But when the lockdown alarm blares and panic erupts across the gym floor, Maria doesn't freeze. She moves. Fast, calm, tactical, just like in Kandahar. They thought she taught dodgeball. What they didn't know, she once led soldiers through fire. Stick around because today the instincts they dismissed will save 28 lives. And after this, no one will call her just a teacher again. They'll call her what she's always been, a warrior. Don't forget to drop a comment telling us where you're watching from and what time you found this video. Also hit that subscribe button. The squeak of sneakers against polished gymnasium floors echoes through the empty space as Maria Rodriguez arrives an hour before first bell. Her fingers brush the worn dog tags in her pocket, a ritual as natural as breathing. The metal is cool against her skin, grounding her in the present, even as muscle memory keeps her spine straight, her steps measured. Another day in the civilian world. She whispers, her voice carrying the warmth of someone trying to embrace a new chapter. The morning sun streams through high windows, catching dust motes dancing in the air. To her students, she'll just be Coach Rodriguez, the gym teacher who runs the most organized dodgeball games in Jefferson Middle School history. But first, her morning routine. Maria moves with fluid grace through the equipment check. Volleyball's properly inflated gymnastics mats, securely stored emergency exits clear. Her eyes sweep each corner methodically, an instinct she can't quite shake. The basketball hoop's chain net clinks softly as the morning breeze drifts through an open window, and for a moment it sounds almost like she shakes the thought away, focuses on straightening the rope climbing station. A smile tugs at her lips as she remembers yesterday's triumph, helping Tommy Chen, the smallest sixth grader, finally reach the top. His face had lit up with such pure joy, so different from the expressions she'd grown accustomed to in her previous life. The first students begin trickling in their chatter, echoing off the walls. Maria watches them, noting how Sophia favors her left ankle, how James positions himself at the edges of the group. Old habits of observation repurposed for protection of a different kind. Coach Rodriguez calls out Emily Watson, bouncing on her toes. Can we do the teamwork obstacle course today, please? Maria's hand unconsciously touches her dog tags again. Teamwork, huh? She surveys the growing crowd of eager faces. You know what? That's exactly what we need. The tags catch the light as she pulls them out briefly, studying the familiar ridges. In the glint of metal, a question forms, one that will shape everything to come. Can the same instincts that made her a warrior make her an even better protector of these young lives? Type guardian. If you believe some callings never truly leave us, they just find new ways to serve. The morning bell rings, and Maria straightens shoulders back head high. Today's mission guide these kids toward strength they don't yet know they have. Different battlefield, same dedication. The warrior and the teacher, two sides of the same coin bound together by something deeper than duty. Subscribe to witness how a soldier's heart finds new purpose in times of peace. Hidden hero. Her students line up, and Maria Rodriguez, coach teacher former staff sergeant, leads them forward, each step a bridge between who she was and who she's becoming. The dog tags rest against her heart, a reminder that sometimes the greatest acts of service happen in the quietest moments, in the spaces between who we were and who we choose to be. The worn combat boots sat in Maria Rodriguez's closet, half hidden beneath a row of sensible teaching shoes. Her fingers traced the scuffed leather memories flooding back of desert sand and pre-dawn briefings. The boots weren't just footwear. They were a reminder of who she was, who she'd always be, no matter how many cheerful "Good morning, Coach" greetings echoed through Jefferson Middle School's halls. Focus on the present, she whispered, pulling on her standard-issue gym teacher sneakers. but her military-trained eyes couldn't help scanning the school parking lot as she walked in, automatically noting exit routes, defensive positions, sightlines. 7 years of civilian life, and still every morning was a tactical assessment. The science behind it was clear. Studies showed that combat veterans' brains remained wired for threat detection long after leaving service. Maria knew the statistics had attended the workshops, but knowing why didn't make it easier when a slammed locker sent her heart racing, or when she caught herself positioning her desk for optimal room surveillance. "Hey, Coach Rodriguez," called Tommy from her first period class, breaking through her thoughts. "Ready for dodgeball?" She smiled, but her mind was already mapping the gym. 28 students, 2 exits, potential projectile risks. The whistle around her neck felt heavier than usual today, too similar to the weight of dog tags. Her fellow teachers saw a dedicated PE instructor who ran perfect warm-ups and kept impeccable attendance. They didn't see how she struggled to silence the staff sergeant during faculty meetings, how every fire drill triggered combat breathing exercises. "Remember your training," her commanding officer used to say. Now those words haunted her as she watched her students run laps. The training never left. It just shape-shifted. Every lesson plan was a mission brief. Every student roster a unit manifest. During lunch duty, Maria found herself in the cafeteria's corner, back against the wall, surveying the room. Her smartphone buzzed with a news alert about another school shooting 3 states away. Her hand instinctively reached for a sidearm that hadn't been there for years. "Have you ever felt trapped between 2 versions of yourself?" she wrote in her therapy journal that evening. "The civilian world wants me to forget to move on. But how do you move on from something that's written into your muscle memory, encoded in your DNA?" The boots in her closet seemed to mock her efforts at normalcy. She'd polished them that morning. Old habits die hard. Their reflection in the mirror reminded her of the divide Staff Sergeant Rodriguez and Coach Rodriguez, 2 identities wrestling for control. A study she'd read recently explained how military training literally rewired neural pathways, creating permanent changes in threat response and situational awareness. Science validated what she felt in her bones. You couldn't just turn off years of combat conditioning like a light switch. Drop 1 if you've ever felt caught between who you were and who you're trying to be. She typed in her veteran support group chat. The responses flooded in immediately. She wasn't alone in this daily battle. Maria looked at her lesson plans for tomorrow, already annotated with security observations in the margins. Perhaps the real hidden problem wasn't that she couldn't leave her military identity behind. It was that she was trying to in the first place. Her boots stood at attention in the closet, ready for duty. Just like her. Have you ever felt like your past experiences were both a burden and a blessing? Share your story below. Warrior Teacher. The squeak of sneakers echoes through the gymnasium as I watch Ms. Rodriguez from my spot on the bleachers. My worn red notebook, the one where I sketch everything I notice, rests on my lap. There's something different about her today. The way she stands near the double doors, how her eyes constantly scan the room while teaching us about teamwork. I've been watching her for weeks now, filling my notebook with observations. Not in a creepy way, more like how she taught us to analyze plays in basketball. The memorial bracelet on her wrist catches the fluorescent lights as she demonstrates a perfect defensive stance. I've drawn that bracelet 7 times trying to capture how she touches it when she thinks no one's looking. "Remember, position is everything," she says. Her voice carrying that familiar strength that makes even the class clowns listen. But today, there's an edge to it. When Tyler accidentally drops a medicine ball, the sharp sound makes her hand twitch toward her hip. So quick I almost miss it. Almost. The classroom door slams shut from the wind, and I notice how she positions herself between us, and the noise, her stance shifting subtly. It's the same way she moved during last week's fire drill, keeping herself between us and any potential threat. My pencil moves across the page, capturing the moment. Ms. Rodriguez, I say after class, clutching my notebook. I've been noticing things. The words tumble out before I can stop them. The way you always check the exits, how you position yourself. It's like you're still... She freezes her hand, instinctively touching the bracelet. For a moment, I see something vulnerable flash across her face, something that makes me think of my dad after he came back from deployment. Marcus, she says softly, sometimes being observant is a gift, and sometimes it's a reminder. She glances at my notebook. May I hand it over, watching as she flips through pages of sketches, her standing guard, teaching, protecting. Her eyes linger on the detailed drawing of her bracelet, complete with the names I managed to glimpse. You see more than most, she says, returning the notebook. But what you're seeing, it's not just who I was, it's who I am. Her voice carries a weight I've never heard before. Every skill, every instinct, they're part of how I protect you all now. That afternoon, as I add another sketch to my notebook, I understand something profound about Ms. Rodriguez. She's not just fighting her past. She's transforming it into something new. Every calculated move, every vigilant glance isn't just about survival anymore. It's about protection, about love. The story spreads through whispered conversations and shared observations. Guardian Teacher starts trending locally after I share my sketches online, each drawing telling part of her story. Students begin noticing what I noticed, understanding the strength behind her presence. Type 2. If you've ever had someone silently protecting you without realizing it. My notebook grows fuller each day, documenting this quiet transformation. The way she turns combat-honed instincts into teachable moments. How her military precision becomes a framework for building confidence in struggling students. The memorial bracelet catches the light as she helps Jessica master a difficult volleyball serve. And I realize sometimes our deepest wounds become our greatest gifts to others. Have you ever watched someone turn their pain into protection? Share your story below. The gymnasium echoes with the sound of bouncing balls and squeaking shoes, but now I hear something else too. The sound of healing, one protective stance at a time. The gymnasium feels different today. Quieter. My whistle hangs heavy around my neck as I watch my students running laps, their sneakers squeaking against the polished floor. 7 years since Afghanistan, and still every sudden noise makes my muscles tense, ready. The dog tags beneath my Jefferson Middle School polo shirt clink softly. My constant reminder of who I am, who I've always been. The sound freezes my blood. Before the lockdown alarm even starts its piercing wail, I'm moving. Corner formation, like we practiced. My voice carries the same command presence that once directed squadrons through Kandahar. 28 faces turn to me, fear replacing their usual teenage indifference. But they move. God, they move exactly as we'd drilled filing quickly into the storage room we'd designated months ago when I first started teaching them emergency preparedness. The fluorescent lights flicker as I secure the door, my hands performing the familiar checks that kept my unit alive through countless missions. The metal door's cold surface grounds me in the present as distant shouting echoes through the hallways. My students huddle in perfect silence, another drill we'd practiced, though they'd never known why their gym teacher was so insistent. Mrs. Rodriguez, Sophie whispers, her voice barely audible. Are you scared? The question hits me like shrapnel. For years, I've struggled to reconcile the warrior and the teacher, believing I had to choose. But looking at these kids, my kids, I finally understand. The soldier and the teacher aren't separate entities fighting for control. They're the same person, forged in combat, but transformed by compassion. No, Sophie, because we're prepared, because we're together. 2 shadows pass the gymnasium doors. My body moves with muscle memory, as old as war itself, positioning myself between the threat and my students. The dog tags clink against my chest, a sound that once meant violence, but now promises protection. When they breach the door, they find no easy targets. They find a staff sergeant who never truly left the battlefield, who simply found a different kind of unit to lead. The first attacker drops before he realizes what's happening. CQC techniques executed with surgical precision. The second swings wild, but 7 years of teaching dodgeball have only made me faster. It's over in seconds. The police arrive to find 28 students safe and 2 attackers subdued, zip-tied with materials from the gym storage. Officer Chen, an old friend from Veteran Support Group, simply nods. He understands. The media will call it heroic. They'll trend Droshker gym teacher hero and talk about military training saving lives. But as I watch my students embrace their parents, I realize something profound. I didn't save them because I was a soldier. I saved them because I was their teacher, because somewhere between the combat boots and the whistle I found a truth bigger than any war. The dog tags catch the afternoon light as I finally let them rest outside my shirt. No more hiding who I am. No more dividing my heart between who I was and who I've become. Type protect if you believe every teacher is a guardian angel in disguise. My students gather around me, their eyes filled not with fear but with understanding. Sophie steps forward, touching the tags gently. You've always been protecting us, haven't you? Even before today. I smile, feeling whole for the first time in years. Always will, kid. That's what teachers do. The gymnasium echoes with new sounds now. Laughter, relief, life. My whistle catches the light alongside my dog tags, no longer symbols of a divided self, but badges of a unified purpose. Sometimes the greatest battles aren't fought with weapons, but with wisdom. And the fiercest warriors are those who choose to teach. Share this story if you believe true heroes never stop serving. They just find new ways to protect what matters most. Teacher Warrior. The fluorescent lights of Jefferson Middle School's gymnasium cast long shadows as I adjust my whistle, the familiar weight of both my dog tags and teacher's ID card resting against my chest. A chorus of sneakers squeaking against the polished floor fills the space, a sound that once would have set me on edge, but now brings a smile to my face. Coach Rodriguez calls out Jamie, one of my 7th graders, her ponytail bouncing as she runs over. Can you show us that breathing technique again? The one that helps before big games, oh bao or an anu. My fingers brush against the tags beneath my shirt. The same technique that steadied my hands in Kandahar now helps these kids face math tests and basketball tournaments. Remember, I demonstrate my voice carrying across the gym. Slow breath in for 4 counts, hold for 4, release for 4, just like we practiced. The entire class follows along, and I feel something shift inside me. That final piece clicking into place. For years, I've struggled to reconcile the warrior and the teacher as if they were opposing forces battling for control. But watching these students master their fears, using the very skills that kept me alive in combat, I realized there was never any conflict at all. The medals from my service years remain in their box at home, but their meaning lives on in every lesson I teach. When Tommy masters his anxiety about public speaking using tactical breathing, when Sarah helps up a fallen teammate with the same steadfast loyalty I learned in the Corps. These are victories as meaningful as any I won overseas. Who wants to lead our cool-down stretches today? I ask, and a forest of eager hands shoots up. The sound of their laughter echoes off the walls, mixing with the phantom echoes of old combat commands in my memory. But there's no discord anymore, just harmony. A notification buzzes on my phone. Another share of last month's incident, the day my training helped protect these kids. The hashtag #WarriorTeacher still trends occasionally, but that's not what matters. What matters is that every skill, every lesson, every hardship that shaped me now serves a greater purpose. Dofu. Leave 3 if you believe the greatest heroes are those who protect and teach. Looking around this gymnasium, my new battlefield of growth and transformation, I finally understand the ultimate truth. Some warriors serve best in times of peace. Our greatest victories aren't won with weapons, but with wisdom, patience, and love. The strength that once carried me through war now carries these young minds toward their future. As the final bell rings, I reach up and touch both my dog tags and teacher's ID together. They no longer feel like symbols of different lives, but badges of a single mission: to protect, to guide, to serve. In the end, that's what every warrior and every teacher shares: the courage to stand guard over something precious. Before leaving, I pin a new poster to my office wall, a photo of our last field day, my students' beaming faces alongside the quote, "Victory lies not in the weight of our armor, but in the strength of our impact." Share this story if you believe every warrior can find their perfect battlefield of peace. Warrior teacher. The gymnasium falls quiet as I gather my things, but I'm no longer haunted by the silence. Instead, I hear the echo of every laugh, every triumph, every small victory that proves my greatest battle was learning to embrace both halves of who I am. And in that understanding, I found not just peace, but purpose.